Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Jaswinder Kumar, Assistant Professor, University Institute of Hotel and Tourism Management, Punjab University, Chandigarh. Today, we will discuss about data, information and knowledge management. And the main objectives are to understand the concept of data, information and knowledge management, to understand the principles of knowledge management, and to understand the ZAC knowledge management model. Dear students, first of all, let us understand about the concept of data. Data are simply facts or figures, bits of information, but not information itself. When data are processed, interpreted, organized, structured or presented so as to make them meaningful or useful, they are called information. Information provides context for data. If you talk about the history of data, it comes from a Latin word datum, which originally meant something given. Its early usage goes back to the 16th century. Over time, data has become the plural of datum. Data has experienced a variety of definitions, largely depending upon the context of its use. For example, information science defines data as unprocessed information, and other domains leave data as representation of objective facts. In computer science, expressions such as the data and data stream and packets of data are commonly used. Indeed, the bandwidth of a signal is metaphorically the size of the pipe that data can travel down. Let us talk about information. Dear students, we live in the information age. In the same way that the development of industry created the industrial age, the development of information technology and systems has created a information age in which the internet has created a huge revolution. It has been a long held belief by many experts that knowledge is power and that knowledge stems from understanding of information, and information in turn is the assigning of meaning to the data. Information is an older word that goes back to the 13th century, and it has old French and English origins. It has always referred to the act of informing, usually in regard to education, instruction or other knowledge of communication. Dear students, data and information are intricately tied together, whether one is recognizing them as two separate words or using them interchangeably. Whether they are used interchangeably depends somewhat on the usage of data, its context and its understanding. Data is the collected factual material commonly accepted in the scientific community as necessary to validate research findings. This information is used to develop understanding of a phenomena or analyzing and predicting some future trends. So, we can say that when knowledge is concerned, the data and information is very important, and data in its own way is the collection of discrete objects, facts or events as per the context. Data has no reference to the space or time. In some advanced way, we can say that it has some connections with some facts. Data is also called as unprocessed information, such as we have seen the spreadsheet of Excel, and in each cell we store the data. On its own, it does not give any information. When we store the cells, figures of the company or organization in the spreadsheet, we call it as data. We may do some categorization of data to get full output from it. The key to understanding the relationship between information and knowledge is to know where the information resides. Information is at its essence a message that is generated from activities and situations. However, information resides in storage media. Sometimes we call it as database, print, video or tapes, etc. So these store the data and it gives some knowledge to the humans. So we can say that the overlap between data and information, or the information and knowledge, becomes very obvious. That is, they occupy different space at the same time, and it also explains why many perceive data and information as well as information and knowledge as interchangeable. For example, a book is knowledge from the author's perspective, information for the potential reader, and data as well, which is contained in the storage media, which is called the book. If we talk about knowledge, after data and information, knowledge is the next stage of evolution. When we apply our experience, jurisdiction or judgment to the information, we get knowledge. Knowledge is the result of learning. Knowledge is the internalization of information, data and experience. In our storage data, such as data of any company, the more marketing efforts or promotions are required, which is depicted from the information stored in particular data, such as in the Excel sheet, that will help in making certain decisions. We will clarify it with the help of one more example, such as the blood pressure of a patient is known as data. By checking the blood pressure of the patient, we can say that the patient is having high blood pressure. Then we can call this is the information. We are able to get a meaningful conclusion from the blood pressure readings, so we can call it as information. The patient is having the high blood pressure because of its family history, and this conclusion is the reason of high blood pressure given by a doctor based on his experience and learning. Thus, we can say data management is the capture, storage, structure, compilation, retrieval and analysis of records. It is the reconstruction of recent or historical events as inputs for decision making and problem solving. With regard to information in management, it includes reconstructing a picture of historical events, collecting current or recent market intelligence, as well as projecting possible future events, such as forecasting and scenario planning, and of course analysis for decision making or problem solving. Thus, action can be taken and then it can be reviewed. Similarly, we can talk about knowledge management, and it is the management of human capital, and this knowledge that resides in the human mind, and it has relationship capital such as customer, supplier, strategic alliance, social capital such as tacit and explicit, and structure capital such as explicit knowledge such as data and information. The source and stock of knowledge and flow of knowledge is in the knowledge creation and in sharing and its application for organization and competitive advantage. So, we can define knowledge management as the ability to manage knowledge for the benefit of the organization, and it is also very much crucial for the knowledge economy. The creation and diffusion of knowledge have become increasingly important factors in competitiveness. More and more knowledge is being thought of as a valuable commodity that is embedded in products and in tacit knowledge of highly mobile employees. While knowledge is increasingly being viewed as a commodity or intellectual asset, there are some paradoxical characteristics of knowledge that are radically different from other valuable commodities. Knowledge management is the systematic management of an organization's knowledge assets for creating value and meeting the strategic or tactical requirements. It consists of the initiatives, processes, strategies, and systems that sustain and enhance the storage, assessment, sharing, refinement, and the creation of knowledge. Each organization should define knowledge management in terms of its own business objectives. Knowledge management is all about applying knowledge in new, previously overburdened or new situations. Studying the various definitions of knowledge management, there are as many as definitions of knowledge management as there are people who are working on this subject. According to DGNet knowledge management is the knowledge creation followed by interpretation, knowledge dissemination and use, and knowledge retention and refinement. While according to Taylor, the powerful environmental forces are reshaping the world of the manager of the 21st century. These forces call for a fundamental shift in the organization process and HR strategy, and this is called the knowledge management. While in the words of Quintas, knowledge management is the process of critically managing knowledge to meet existing needs, to identify and exploit existing and acquired knowledge assets, and to develop new opportunities. We can say that knowledge management is a continuous cycle. Knowledge management is currently seen as a continuous cycle of three important processes, namely the knowledge creation, the knowledge improvement, and the knowledge distribution. Knowledge addition and application. If we talk about knowledge addition and application, knowledge management expresses a deliberate, systematic, and synchronized approach to ensure the full utilization of organization's knowledge base paired with the potential of individual skills, competencies, thoughts, innovations and ideas to create a more efficient and effective organization. In simple words, knowledge management incorporates both holding and storing of the knowledge perspective with respect to the intellectual assets. It is the deliberate and systematic collaboration of an organization's people, technology, processes, style, and structure in order to add value through reuse and innovation. Let us discuss why knowledge management is important. The field of knowledge management has gained importance in recent times due to a wide variety of reasons, such as there is speed of change in the marketplace and it has become so rapid that the time available for organizations to gain experience and acquire knowledge has diminished. Organizations are required to differentiate their product or produce them in fastest possible time and the lowest possible cost. The competition in the marketplace has also forced organizations to reduce cost. One of the methods followed in the reduction in manpower. This has led to the early retirements and increasing mobility of workforce, resulting in a loss of knowledge. Organizations are forced to compete on the basis of knowledge. Marketplace is increasingly becoming more and more competitive. The reduction in staffing creates a need to replace informal knowledge with formal methods, and reduction in workforce due to competitive pressure is also enhancing the importance of knowledge management. There is also need for lifelong learning and it is inescapable reality. There is increasing dominance of knowledge as a basis for organizational effectiveness. The failure of financial models to represent the dynamics of knowledge is also resulting the importance of knowledge management. The failure of information technology by itself to achieve substantial benefits for the organizations is also very important, and in this organization and for this knowledge management can contribute a lot. The diffusion of global capabilities causing developed countries to become service-based economies depending upon the labor from developing countries. Similarly, the unintended consequences of universal information access is also contributing for knowledge management, and the importance attached to this subject is also analyzed by various management schools. Dear students, let us talk about various applications of knowledge management. Knowledge management is used very widely, such as in the globalization of business, organizations today are more universal, that is, they are operating in multiple sites, multilingual and multicultural destinations. We are having now leaner organizations, and organizations are adopting to those lean strategies where they understand customer value and focus on key processes to continuously increase it. The ultimate goal is to provide perfect value to the customer through a perfect value creation process that has zero waste. In present time, we are free as a workforce, means we can create various issues regarding knowledge and organizations workforce. We no longer expect to spend our entire work life with the same organization nowadays. Nowadays, there are technological advances and the world is more connected with the advent of websites, smartphones, and other latest gadgets. Advancements in the technology has not only helped in better connectivity but also changed the expectations. Companies are expected to have online presence round the clock providing required information as per the customer needs. Knowledge management serves as one of the major response to the challenge of trying to handle this complex information overloaded work environment. As such, knowledge management is perhaps best clustered as a science of complexity. Let us talk about knowledge management characteristics. It includes using knowledge does not consume it. Transferring knowledge does not result in losing it. Knowledge is abundant, but the ability to use it is very scarce. Much of an organization's valuable knowledge walks out the door at the end of the day. The advent of the internet has made unlimited resources of the knowledge available to us all, and that is benefiting all the organizations and people associated with technology. Thus, we can say that knowledge management would incorporate both the capturing and storing of knowledge perspective together with the valuing of intellectual assets. Knowledge management is the deliberate and systematic coordination of an organization's people, technology, processes, and organizational structure in order to add value through reuse and innovation. This is achieved through the promotion of creating, sharing, and applying knowledge, as well as through the feeding of valuable lessons learned and best practices into corporate memory in order to increase continued organizational learning. Dear students, let us understand various principles of knowledge management. Knowledge management is expensive. Knowledge is an asset but requires investment in other assets for effective management. The investments could be for the certain activities. It is important to capture the knowledge. The captured knowledge should be categorized. Developing information technology and infrastructures and applications for the distribution of knowledge. There is need for educating employees on the creation, sharing, and use of knowledge. Non-availability of adequate and appropriate knowledge at the required time may also lead to loss of opportunities. One way of finding out the cost of knowledge management is to estimate the cost of lack of knowledge management. Effective management of knowledge requires integration of people and technology. Effective use of people and technology such as computers are required to manage knowledge. Computers can be used to capture, transform, and distribute highly structured knowledge that changed rapidly, and people are used to understand the created knowledge, interpret it, synthesize it, and the various unstructured forms and data need to be analyzed. So an effective system requires a hybrid knowledge management environment in which the humans and computers complement each other. Next principle is that knowledge management is highly political. It means knowledge is power and hence it is associated with money, success, lobbying, backroom deals which manifest power. People who manage knowledge would lobby for its use and broker deals between those who have the knowledge and those who use it. Knowledge management requires knowledge managers. Means knowledge cannot be effectively managed unless it is delegated and controlled by a group of people who are efficient and responsible for managing it. The task of this group would be to collect and categorize knowledge, establish a knowledge-oriented technology, infrastructure and monitoring the use of knowledge. Next principle is knowledge management benefits from the various models or the markets or the hierarchies of markets. Effective knowledge management is more to do with providing maps for existing knowledge rather than creating hierarchies of knowledge. They should be able to connect the client needs with the required information from the knowledge database. Next principle is that sharing and using knowledge are often linked together. The normal tendency is to delay and the sharing of knowledge is beneficial for the various organizations and society. And for this, one should be highly motivated to allow knowledge to be shared by others and to be open to share others' knowledge. Knowledge management indicates improving. This principle says that knowledge management should contribute for continuous improvement and change in positive direction. The knowledge management processes should contribute for scientific knowledge, work processes, market research, product design and development. Improvements need to be made in these processes to have more effective knowledge management in the organization. Next principle is that knowledge access is only the beginning. It says that the process of knowledge management does not mean having access to knowledge. In addition to access of knowledge, the knowledge management requires attention and engagement. In order for knowledge consumers to pay attention to knowledge, they must be active, they must be recipient through summarizing and reporting to others through role playing based on the uses of knowledge and receiving the knowledge through the close interaction with the providers of knowledge, and this will contribute for more and more knowledge multiplication. Next principle is that knowledge management process never ends. The task of management is a continuous process and can't be said to be fully managed. One reason that knowledge management never ends, the categories of required knowledge are always changing. New technologies, management approaches, regulatory issues and customer concerns are always emerging, and that's the reason that knowledge management is also changing. Next principle is knowledge management requires a knowledge contract. Most organizations cannot fix ownership or uses rights to employ knowledge. Management of knowledge requires a contract between employees and the organization to ensure that the knowledge acquired by the employee during his tenure is captured and properly documented. This assumes importance in the present day environment in which employees moving more quickly to new jobs and new organizations. Let us discuss one knowledge management model. Knowledge management cycle is the process of transforming information into knowledge within an organization, and thus it explains how knowledge is captured, processed and distributed in an organization. So, in this regard, we will understand the concept of knowledge management with the help of one knowledge management model, and this model is ZAC knowledge management model. The ZAC model is extracted from work on the design and development of information products. The network between various stages of knowledge management is designed to be logical and standardized. In management cycle, the major developmental stage of knowledge repository are analyzed and mapped to the stages of a knowledge management cycle. The stages are acquisition, refinement, storage, retrieval, distribution and presentation. This cycle is called as refinery. The acquisition of data or information deals with issues regarding origin of raw materials such as scope, breadth, depth, credibility, accuracy, timeliness, relevance, cost, control and exclusivity. The guiding principle is the well-known proverb of garbage in, garbage out. That is, highest quality source data is required, else the intellectual products produced downstream will be lower. Next stage is the refinement. Refinement may be physical, such as migrating from one medium to another, or logical, like restructuring, relabeling, indexing and integrating. Refining also defines cleaning up, like sanitizing content so as to ensure complete anonymity of sources and key players involved, or standardizing, like conforming to templates of a best practice or lessons learned as used within the particular organization. This stage also adds up to the value of creating more readily usable knowledge objects and by storing the content more flexibly for future use. Next stage is the storage or retrieval storage or retrieval storage. Retrievals forms a stage between the upstream addition and refinement stages that feed the repository and downstream stages of product or generation. Storage can be physical, such as the file folders, printed information, as well as digital, such as database, knowledge management softwares, etc. Next stage is distribution. Distribution defines how the product is to be delivered to the end users, such as the fax, print, email, and encloses not only the medium of delivery but also its timing, frequency, form, language and so on. Next stage is presentation. In this context plays an important role of presentation or application storage. The performance of each of the value added steps is evaluated here, such as does the user have enough context to be able to make use of this content? If not, the knowledge management cycle has failed to deliver the value of individual and ultimately to the organization. The repository and the refinery combined enable the management of valuable knowledge of a firm. In this cycle, there is also an impression of having to continually renew the repository and the refinery in order to avoid elimination. The Mayer and Zach model is one of the most complete picture of the key elements engaged in the knowledge management model. To be specific, the refinement is a crucial stage of knowledge management cycle and one that is often neglected. Dear students, the present day market scenario is very intense, having competition. Organizations need to know what they know and able to leverage on its knowledge base to gain competitive advantage. In this knowledge era, organizations can create and sustain competitive advantage through initiation of appropriate knowledge management processes. The organizations that can leverage technology to exploit the data and information, they will realize the benefits of creating a competitive advantage for them. The emphasis of knowledge management can lead organizations to manage resources more effectively, and that will be very much competitive for the organizations and for the global economy. Thank you very much.